Here it is. As always, that's how I start my religious videos. This one is actually an essay that I wrote called Religion in Public. And please excuse the clicking sounds of the computer as I'm reading, but I'm using the built-in microphone, so I'll try to be as quiet with them as possible. As a note before beginning, I have chosen to save my thoughts on religion in Greece for last, as the situation is quite different, and will discuss this topic from a more general point of view in the rest of my essay, using America as a base, since I'm more familiar with their way of life. Many Americans have a habit of discussing the Constitution and whether or not there's an official separation of church and state, whether their founding fathers were religious or wanted the nation to be, etc. I'll leave you to discuss that in comments if you'd like, as I don't know. But I do know that if society claims that the freedom to express oneself is one of its most important attributes, promoting a specific religion over others does not coincide with those views. I myself am religious and am a Hellenic polytheist, but I have no problems with those of other faiths, including Christians. I even enjoy discussing their religions with them. But I do have a serious problem with those who force their beliefs on others. Mostly in America, this is done by Christians, so I must focus on them, but know that it holds for everyone. Many Christians have a desire to bring prayer into public schools. In a homogeneous society, like Japan for example, this might work, but in one with such diverse religions, it's simply not practical, unless, perhaps, it could be done as a moment of silent prayer and or contemplation. The problem is that most people don't mean this, particularly those who believe that prayer from their religion is necessary to bring morality back to the nation. Since not everyone is Christian, this could cause a conflict of interest, especially for those as those who do not believe in Jesus, the monotheistic God, or even any deities at all would be left out, and or made to feel uncomfortable. Faith is something that must be felt with the heart and the mind. It cannot be forced out of someone. I could learn and recite a prayer just as well as anyone else, but that doesn't mean that I'll believe in it. And isn't it far better to let children learn and explore on their own, or at least to teach them at home, where they won't be persecuted, etc.? This is not to say that I think the teaching of religion should be banned. In fact, I highly recommend it, but it should be done in a scholarly manner and not taught as a class of facts like science or history, and various religions should be discussed. This helps students develop an understanding of their peers and also promotes curiosity about the world around them and their own faith. If, in contrast, a parent feels that it's essential for his or her child to learn about his or her family's religion in school, then he or she should send the child to a parochial school. In those cases, I have no issue with religion being taught or even made mandatory. So if, for example, an atheist or pagan were to go to a Christian or Jewish school, he or she should not complain when told to read the Bible or the Jewish texts. Another form of religious expression, often seen in America, is prayers by organizations during meetings or other gatherings. Unless the organization claims to be religious, I strongly feel that this should not be allowed. An example is the National Federation of the Blind. This organization does not state specifically that they are Christian, and yet they pray to the Lord before meetings. At least they did the 3 or so times I went to a meeting from them. The same holds true for public schools saying prayers before a sports match, and especially for professional teams. If you're not a parochial school or a local religious team, you have no business doing it. If the players wish to pray, that's their choice. But don't make it a public spectacle. I extend this to public expressions of religion made by politicians as well. There's nothing wrong with one going to a place of worship or even being shown celebrating a sacred holiday with his or her family. But religion has no place in politics itself. There should be no nativity scene at the Capitol, no saying of prayers by the President, or indeed of any politician, except in the cases of funerals for veterans and/or important leaders, etc. While such things may be public, they're really about the person who died, so it's only natural for his or her faith to be honored. But that includes all faiths, not just Christianity. Other than that, when you serve the state, your rules of conduct are different from those of others. If I was a celebrity and receiving an award and said, "I thank the gods for assisting me in this," that's fine. Perhaps that may even be fine for a politician if he or she limits him or herself to that comment. But whereas I, as the celebrity, can make a website and proclaim my views, wear religious clothing, and even sing or write about the gods, this is not appropriate for someone who is supposed to be representing all of the people. If a person wishes to do this either before or after his or her political career, that's fine. But once he or she takes office, the people and the area served, be it town, city, state, or nation, must come first in public matters. In general, I see myself as being fairly open-minded, and pretty much an open book as far as what I'll discuss. So I have no problem, for example, talking about religion or politics at the dinner table. But at work is a different matter. Just as there are certain behaviors which are expected of students, be they children in kindergarten or adults in graduate school, there are also expectations of those in the workplace. Of course, they vary depending on the job in question. Most jobs, for example, have a dress code. If you're a construction worker, the odds are that you won't arrive at work wearing a suit and tie. If you're an executive, you usually wouldn't be seen wearing work boots and a hard hat. Likewise, if you're a minister or religious person of some kind, discussing religion would naturally be part of your job. But most secular workplaces frown on discussing religion while on the job. At first, this seems to make no sense. Certainly, when I talk of my faith, I only wish to share my experiences, to answer questions, or to tell my story in a tolerant and conversational manner. Unfortunately, there are also those who, upon hearing that I believe in the gods of what they consider to be pure fantasy, feel it necessary to mock both them and me. Some not only ask questions like, "How could you believe in such things?" but get aggressive, saying that I'll go to hell, that I'm the spawn of Satan, that God hates me, or that I can be saved if I turn to Christ. Personally, I've only met maybe two of these types, as my friends are all at least tolerant, and I don't live in an area where religion is pushed. But I know this happens to many others, and I can only imagine that it would cause heartache at work. You can't simply walk away from your coworkers if you're expected to work with them. Then there are those who are not cruel exactly, but who believe that it's necessary to spread their faith. These aren't content with merely discussing it or sharing their stories, but believe that God put them in your life to convert you and make you see the light. While they may not be confrontational, their constant proselytizing could be annoying at best and downright distracting at worst. To be fair, I've also met some atheists who are just as strong in their rejection of religion and of trying to force everyone to follow science or renounce their faith as some evangelicals who want people to believe in Jesus. But these problems don't stop with employees. If a customer overhears such a heated discussion going on, he or she may not wish to buy the products from or take the services of the company, or may engage in the debate and hold up the line, for instance, at a cash register. My advice to coworkers who truly want to discuss religion is to go out for lunch or a coffee, and if they're still not satisfied after that, they can exchange phone numbers, emails, and/or Facebook account information. Most religions have their own holidays, traditions, and celebrations. Some, like Hellenic polytheism, have many of them throughout the year. Others have only a few. But when most people think of the holidays, particularly in winter, they think of Christmas, New Year's, and Easter. To many, it's natural to greet someone at this time with Merry or Happy Christmas. But many who are not Christian get offended by this. In contrast, many Christians feel that their day has been commercialized and that people no longer appreciate its meaning, to celebrate the birth of Christ. I can understand both sides of the issue and believe that each makes valid points. Certainly, there's something to be said for too much commercialism. In fact, this is why the founder of Mother's Day wanted to have it abolished after a while. The true message of love and family simply wasn't reaching the people as they battled one another in over gifts for Mom. The same holds true for Christmas. All one need do to see it is to go to a store on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, or shortly before Christmas, to see the insanity of modern-day shoppers. So I can definitely understand how followers of Christ feel that their day has been stolen from them and for companies to make money. But on the other hand, Christmas itself is a stolen holiday. While it's true that most modern Christians don't know this and none participated in it, the day was chosen not because Christ was born then. In fact, if you go by the biblical account, he was born in spring. The church chose the 25th of December to win over the pagans and to get them to stop celebrating their holidays. So if anything, the pagans are the ones who have a historical case. That said, it is just that, historical. Most people who say Merry Christmas don't have any ill will in their hearts, nor are they trying to convert people. They merely wish to give well wishes. Personally, I always say Happy Holidays, unless I know what the person celebrates. This, I believe, is the best way to do it, since it's generic and no one is excluded, except, perhaps, those who don't celebrate anything. But I'm sure they can grin and bear it and be happy about something. The best thing to do is to say thank you and move on, unless the person is deliberately trying to proselytize. Now we turn to Greece. As I stated at the beginning of the essay, things are a bit different from America. Religion is not only a part of life, but it's even in the Constitution, beginning with the first sentence. And I actually quoted here, but it's a lot, so I'm going to skip this. But you can find it if you go to hri.org, and you'll find the Constitution there. Given my views in the previous paragraphs, one might expect me to rant about there being an official religion of any kind, and to proclaim that separation of church and state should be mandatory. Yet it's important to take the history of the state of Greece into account. Christians have played a very important role in modern Greek society. In fact, if it wasn't for the help of the priests, we might not have achieved independence from the Ottomans. And let's remember that all four of our national saviors, General Metaxas, Colonels Papadopoulos and Makarezos, and General Patakos, were all Christian. Even though there are other religions in the country, including Hellenic polytheism, which is the native religion and which is not even recognized, it can't be denied that most people in the country are Greek Orthodox. Due to this, those who are not often feel that they cannot discuss their religion for various reasons. While appealing to authority is a logical fallacy, I still say that I've met enough people with this view that I consider it to be true. Even if you were to go by facts alone, it's easy to see the prevalence of the faith in everything, from general culture to laws. I'm not sure if this is still the case, but at least until fairly recently, it was common for those processing passports and other forms of identification to ask for your religion, along with the usual information, and to then write it on the document. Children were required by law to attend religious classes in schools until about 2 years ago. While I'm not generally a fan of the EU, they did help to bring certain changes in regards to religion. But changing attitudes and laws takes time, even under the best of circumstances. So to expect a culture in which religion is such an important part of life to suddenly adopt a more open and secular approach is laughable. But I do believe that it's still possible. If, however, there should be another revolution, then I have no doubt that the gains made will be lost. But that's a risk that we'll need to take and live with in order to deal with the much more serious and pressing issues which are currently harming the nation. Just as a side note, I do believe that they no longer require religion on passports. I'm still unsure, but I think that they stopped that. And of course, needless to say, the religion classes that were in school were Christian theology. I'm not talking like a world religion class. To conclude, while religion is a wonderful thing in general, I believe that in a country which claims to have such freedom and diversity as America, there really should be a separation of church and state. Even if documents say otherwise, the people are now so diversified that doing otherwise would only be an injustice to them.